I submit 50 years later that we do need a revolution of values, that we've got unfinished business, that our work is to carry forth what he called the triplet evils of racism, poverty, and war. I know these are tough times. It's difficult to figure out really what to do. But faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Dr. King said faith is taking the first step even when you can't see the whole stairwell. And so analysis is important, but sometimes we get caught up in the paralysis of analysis. That's how systemic oppression works. You don't quite know who to blame. It's not about blaming a person. Racism is not about whether this person likes me or not. It's about your ability to decide through public policy the implications, the tragic consequences of my life. And so Dr. King stepped out on faith. I have the great benefit of living in Atlanta, and so I was born a year after Dr. King's death, but many of his closest lieutenants I know. I spend time with them. I've talked to them in their living rooms, and they've shared the pulpit with me in my church, and Andy Young and Joe Lowry and John Lewis and so many others will tell you that they weren't sure, Roger, what they were doing. They just knew they had to do something. So they just stepped out on faith. By faith, Martin Luther King Jr. stood up when Rosa Parks decided to sit down. By faith, he left the comfort of a pulpit and made the whole world his parish. By faith, he taught us to meet brute force with soul force, to harness indignation to discipline, to protest with the creative weapon of love and nonviolence. By faith, he dreamed a dream for America, believing that one day the country would gather enough moral courage to dream that same dream for itself. By faith, he led the struggle for civil rights until the law became an instrument of liberation, and the walls of segregation came tumbling down. By faith, he fought for a voting rights law because there is no right more sacred than the right to choose our nation's direction and its destiny. By faith, he campaigned for the poor and died defending workers, defending garbage collectors, fighting for their dignity, fighting for a living wage, as he carried out his ministry of addressing his words and his own body to what he called the triplet evils of racism and poverty and war. But Dr. King knew that he would not finish that work. Andrew Young tells me often that he would often just matter-of-factly say, you know, I'm not going to see 40. But he gave his life over to that struggle, died fighting for workers, fighting for their dignity,